Awesome watches that I would never buy. Today's video is all about watches that I think are great, however, they're just not for me. I know a lot of people will get upset by some of my choices, so let's keep in mind that these are just my opinions. I have personal reasons why I don't like these watches. They may resonate with you, they may not. However, again, they are just personal opinions. So please don't beat me up in the comments if you don't agree with me. But I do have some controversial picks on my list. So let's flip the camera and start with my number one pick. The first brand on this list is somewhat controversial. I think some people will have a problem with this brand and this specific watch being on this list. It is the Tudor Black Bay. This watch is awesome. Obviously, a lot of people love the Tudor Black Bay. It's an homage to the Rolex Submariner. It's a great watch that is very reliable, really well made. It's a dive watch that is probably at this point an icon. Although at the same time, it's still an homage to the Submariner. And that is probably my biggest problem with this watch. There are plenty of iterations that are really cool. I love the sterling silver version. I love the gold version and of course the bronze version. I love the P01. I like all of these odd versions that they've come out with that Rolex would never make. However, at the same time, I'm not a huge fan of them because they are very common now. Lots of people have them. And I feel as though wearing a Black Bay is almost like wearing a Submariner. In fact, it's almost exactly the same as wearing a Submariner, except you're not wearing a Submariner. And they're very common. You're going to see them. You're going to see a lot of people wearing these watches. People who don't know about watches and people who do. And unfortunately, it's just no longer my cup of tea. Now, this is, again, a personal opinion. I'm not a fan. You might be. And if you are, more power to you. I think they are great watches. There's no denying that. They're just not for me. You guys know I'm always complaining about marketplaces like eBay and Chrono24. Today's video is sponsored by Chronograbs, a new marketplace that is dedicated to the enthusiast. Started by John P. of the John P. Watches YouTube channel. This new enthusiast-based marketplace is exclusively for selling your watches. And right now, if you sign up with Chronograbs, there are 0 fees, buying or selling. So that means you're going to get a better price when you're buying and more money when you're selling because there are no fees currently on Chronograbs. And also, if you sign up right now for a free account on Chronograbs, by June 15th, you are automatically entered to win a Tudor Black Bay watch. All you have to do is sign up for a free account on Chronograbs. Again, that is chronograbs.com. Definitely check out their website for more information on the giveaway and giveaway details. One thing you're going to see in common throughout all the brands that I mentioned and all the watches that I mentioned today is that I have owned every single one of the watches that I will mention, and I have specific reasons why I will never own them again. And one of those watches is a ball watch. I owned an Engineer 2 or something like that. I don't remember exactly the name. It was a long time ago. I'll throw up a picture of the watch if I have it. It was really nicely made. It was automatic. It had the in-house movement actually from Ball, which had, I believe, 80 hours of power reserve. It's a pretty good looking watch as well. But for one reason or another, it was not comfortable. Also, Ball, the name. It is really hard when someone asks you, what do you have on your wrist? And you tell them, I have a ball on my wrist. It's just hard. The name is not great. I get the heritage and I get the reason why they are called Ball. But at the same time, there's something about their watches that I just can't get behind anymore. But some of their designs are very expensive. Hopefully they go back to form and make a couple of different dive watches that are more straightforward in the near future. But until then, I'm not really in on Ball right now. Maybe I will be in the future. And I just don't find them comfortable. Like I said, I've owned one, I've worn many, and I just don't find them comfortable. So that's the reason why Ball are on this list. Now, I said the first pick was pretty controversial. This pick is definitely going to be the most controversial. Grand Seiko. Yes, I really like Grand Seiko. I have always really liked Grand Seiko, but there are two major problems with Grand Seiko, in my opinion, and until they correct these two issues, I probably will not buy another Grand Seiko. Start with the positive. They have some of the best dials. Their cases are finished very nicely. They do a great job with finishing their cases. They do a great job with hands, indices, the dial. Movements are excellent. They're very nicely finished. However, when it comes to bracelets, straps, and clasps, they get it wrong every time. They're literally just maybe a step above Seiko, if that. A lot of times they are sharing components directly out of the Seiko parts bin, and they're just slightly updated or upgraded compared to their Seiko counterparts. They need to come up with completely new designs. For Grand Seiko, you need to have full on-the-fly micro adjust, which they have only recently started giving in some of their watches, which is absurd at this point when every single micro brand offers it. How are they getting away with not offering screwed links and a high-end clasp for their high-end watches? They make great looking watches, but literally the moment you buy them, you have to switch out the strap because usually they are cheap and not nicely made. That is very unfortunate because Grand Seiko do make some fantastic watches. Lots of people compare them to Rolex. There is really no comparison when it comes to quality, especially comparing bracelets. The next one, again, I don't know. This might be pretty controversial as well. I have owned, like I said, I've owned Grand Seikos. I've owned this next brand as well, Brightling. I've owned a number of Brightling. In fact, early in my collecting career, I liked Brightling a lot, and slowly I have gotten away from Brightling over the years. The overall aesthetic of Brightling does not appeal to me. And it seems as though they have really leaned into their aesthetic, and it's just not for me. They don't make bad watches, and I especially love their historic watches like the Navi Timer and the Emergency. I've always loved the Emergency, but the Emergency now, the new Emergency, is like 57 millimeters. It is a monstrosity. I still like the vintage Emergencies, but I probably would never buy one. I think they're pretty useful, kind of cool. The functionality is pretty awesome. You probably will never use it, but that's unfortunate. I wish I liked Brightling. They went in a different direction from what I was hoping they would go in, and here we are. Not a huge fan of Brightling. The next choice might be another controversial choice. Actually, I'm looking at this list and I think every single choice that I've made is pretty controversial. Ming. I've owned a few Mings over the years. Most recently, the H41. It's the lugs and the interaction between the lugs, the case, and their bracelets. I'm just not a fan. If I'm buying a very expensive watch, I want a bracelet that doesn't fit all of their watches. I want a bracelet that fits the watch that I bought it with. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but a bracelet does mean a lot to me. Also, they don't have on-the-fly micro adjust. I'm not sure if they've recently built that into their newest bracelet, but that is also a problem. But it's really not the bracelet. It is the lugs. Those short, weird, flared lugs just don't do it for me, especially on a strap. So I need to wear it on a bracelet, and the bracelet isn't great in my opinion, so that is the problem. I actually bought an H41. I was lusting after that watch for so long. I ended up buying it, and I still am looking at them today. I go on eBay and I'm still looking at them. I want to buy another one, but I just won't let myself buy one because I know I'm going to be disappointed with the lugs on the watch. Maybe I'll buy another one again. Maybe I'll change my mind. But again, this is a personal thing. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the lugs. You may love the lugs, and that's okay. Otherwise, all watches would look the same. So it's absolutely okay if you like them, and I don't. The next brand on this list, and yes, this is yet another brand that I am really not all that happy with right now. It is Blancpain. And it really hurts me to say that because I love the brand. I love the heritage. But all of the watches that they currently make, I just don't find appealing. Just the other day, they released two 38mm versions of the 50 Fathoms, and of course, they're marketing them towards women with pink dials and weird colors. I'm not sure what they think they are doing, but they are not capturing the male audience, the biggest section of the population who buy 50 fathoms, who are lusting after 50 fathoms. It's men, not women. So I'm not sure why they did this, and they continue to do weird things with the 50 fathoms. What they need to do is release a reissue of the watch that I have, the Aqualung, the original 1950s case with a flat bezel, a flat sapphire crystal, a really straightforward dial in a dive form, in a really straightforward dial. Exactly as the original was made, they need to really release it in that size with slab sides and no polish. That's what that watch is, and they need to remove the Blancpain that they put on the side of all of their watches. And I say the 50 fathoms, but really there is no Blancpain currently that they make that I think is all that great that I would go out and want to spend my money on. Last but not least, and probably the least controversial on this list, is Hamilton. Hamilton makes some really great watches as well. However, recently they've been putting out some solid duds, and I would like to see some better watches from Hamilton. I have owned plenty of Hamiltons over the years. Right now, I own 0. I have sold all my Hamiltons. At one point, I would have said that I was a Hamilton collector. I had about 10 Hamilton in my collection, and I have slowly sold off every single Hamilton that I own. Recently, they came out with a new GMT. I think it's a great watch. However, all of their sister brands like Tissot, Mito, Certina, they're making very similar watches for slightly less money that I think are equally as well made and better looking in a lot of situations. So I think Hamilton need to step it up a little bit, maybe even lower their prices a little bit to compete within their own company. These are all great brands. Like I said, I really do love each one of these brands individually. There's a lot of positive from these brands. However, just because of personal reasons and some reasons that I think are pretty legitimate, I am not buying these brands currently, and I don't see myself buying these brands in the near future unless things change and they come out with basically new designs that are appealing to me. That's really it. That's my list. I wanted to mention some major brands here, so that's what I did. I could make about a dozen of these videos because there are a lot of brands that I don't find appealing, and for that reason you probably won't see very much of them here on my channel, because I like to show you guys things that I like as well, because I like to talk about them. That's kind of the reason why I started this channel. But that's really it, guys. Tell me what you would add to this list if it's not on this list already. If you agree with this list, tell me down in the comment section below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.